From high-stakes lawsuits and controversial immigration policy to Supreme Court rulings and rising tensions on the world stage, these are the stories shaping today's headlines. California Governor Gavin Newsom has filed a $787 million defamation lawsuit against Fox News, accusing the network of knowingly airing misleadingly edited footage of a phone call with former President Donald Trump. The lawsuit centers on a June 10th segment from Jesse Watters' program, where Trump claimed to have spoken with Newsom the day before, deploying the National Guard to Los Angeles. That timeline conflicts with Newsom's assertion that he was never informed of the deployment and that no such call occurred. Newsom argues the segment distorted the public record, damaged his credibility, and misled viewers about a critical moment of presidential action. Fox News denies the accusations, calling the lawsuit a transparent publicity stunt and pledging to fight it in court. Next, Florida is preparing to open a massive new immigrant detention center deep in the Everglades. Built from tents and temporary structures at a remote airstrip west of Miami, the facility will house up to 5,000 people and is slated to open in early July. The site is a centerpiece of Donald Trump's latest mass deportation strategy. Florida Attorney General James Othniel described the location as escape-proof, saying, "There's no way in, no way out." But critics are sounding alarms. Environmental groups warn the site threatens one of America's most fragile ecosystems, while immigration advocates call the move inhumane. Representative Maxwell Frost accused Trump and his allies of weaponizing government to brutalize immigrants. Despite the backlash, the Department of Homeland Security supports the plan, and FEMA is covering much of the projected $450 million annual cost. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has used emergency powers to bypass construction regulations and local resistance. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott has vetoed a proposed statewide ban on recreational cannabis just 1 hour before the legislative deadline. The bill had overwhelming support from Republicans and law enforcement, with strong backing from Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Abbott instead called for a special session in July to address what he described as the chaotic legal landscape of cannabis regulation. He cited legal conflicts with the federal Farm Bill and warned that the bill could be swiftly overturned in court. While Abbott did approve an expansion of Texas's medical cannabis program just a day earlier, Patrick criticized the veto, saying the governor had abandoned families affected by drug abuse. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled 6-3 that Maryland parents have the right to opt their children out of elementary school lessons featuring LGBTQ-themed books. The ruling strikes down a Montgomery County School Board policy that removed parental opt-outs in 2023. Parents had sued, citing religious freedom concerns. The school system had approved books like Uncle Bobby's Wedding for classroom use as early as 2022. Writing for the majority, Justice Samuel Alito said the policy placed substantial burdens on religious exercise. The decision now requires schools to notify parents and offer opt-out options for similar lessons moving forward. Critics of the ruling argue it undermines inclusive education and could limit how schools address diversity and representation. In a separate decision, the Supreme Court has upheld a Texas law that requires adult websites to verify users' ages through government-issued or digital ID before allowing access. Passed in 2023, the law aims to prevent minors from viewing pornographic material online. It had faced legal opposition from the Free Speech Coalition, which argued it violated constitutional protections. Writing for the court, Justice Clarence Thomas said the regulation does not infringe on free speech and aligns with existing restrictions on adult content. The 6-3 ruling clears the way for enforcement in Texas and may set a precedent for similar laws already passed in 18 other states. Chief Justice John Roberts issued a stark warning today, stating that politically charged attacks on the judiciary are endangering judges across the country. He pointed to increasing threats of violence and even assassination attempts targeting judges simply for doing their jobs. Roberts specifically referenced past remarks by Donald Trump, who once called a ruling the product of an Obama judge. Roberts urged Americans to keep political discourse responsible and avoid rhetoric that paints the judiciary as corrupt or partisan. In international news, North Korea is launching a domestic tourism push with the grand opening of its new Wonsan-Kalma coastal resort. The sprawling development features hotels, sports complexes, and restaurants designed to host 20,000 guests. Leader Kim Jong-un led the ribbon-cutting ceremony, joined by his wife, daughter, and the Russian ambassador. Notably absent were Chinese diplomats. The resort will open to Russian tourists on July 7th. Foreign access otherwise remains restricted. as North Korea continues enforcing pandemic-era travel bans. Experts say the development likely drained significant resources, and Pyongyang will eventually need Chinese tourism to recoup the investment. North Korea has strengthened ties with Russia in recent years, supplying weapons in exchange for aid while distancing itself from former allies like China. Next, Wall Street financier Robert Granieri is at the center of a bizarre and alarming international scandal. Granieri, a co-founder of trading firm Jane Street, says he was duped into providing $7 million to Peter Ajak, a Harvard fellow and former child soldier. Prosecutors allege Ajak intended to use the money to purchase military weapons for a coup in South Sudan. Court documents claim Ajak and co-defendant Abraham Keech planned to install Ajak as leader, buying AK-47s, grenades, and even Stinger missiles. The two allegedly inspected weapons in a Phoenix warehouse last year. Attorneys for Ajak argue he had informal backing from U.S. officials and claim selective prosecution. They noted involvement from chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov, who introduced Ajak to Granieri, but has not been charged. Both men plead not guilty. Finally, a new report from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime has revealed record global production and consumption of cocaine and synthetic drugs in 2023. Cocaine output surged to over 3,700 tons, driven by expanded coca farming in Colombia and updated yield estimates. Global cocaine users now exceed 25 million, up from 17 million a decade ago. North and South America, along with Western and Central Europe, remain the biggest consumer regions. Meanwhile, seizures of synthetic drugs like methamphetamine and fentanyl also hit all-time highs. The report attributes the trend to low production costs, high demand, and limited enforcement capacity across many regions. That's all for tonight's news update. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue to monitor these stories and bring you the latest developments. Stay safe, stay informed, and have a good night. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.